Yo, what up, guys? I'm going to be giving a rundown of how I played the Jax matchup. Let's get right into it. No delay. I actually really like this matchup. I think it's a lot of fun. And I think it's a good matchup if you play it well, but it is hard. So versus Jax, I like to take Ignite. I really like the extra 1v1 power. I feel like it actually does turn the matchup in this matchup in a lot of cases. I personally take PTA. You can go Conqueror by going PTA for the extra early burst and kill pressure and catching Jax off guard, whereas Conqueror can get you a little bit extra in some smaller trades like Q trades, or maybe a bit extra in an all-in at 6 if you get like 2 Qs off. But PTA a bit more consistent to get some of those all-ins early with your Empower W and Ignite, and just raw burst. And then of course Triumph always on Renekton. You can go Alacrity or Tenacity. I prefer to go Alacrity when I'm able to, but if they do have a lot of CC, especially if their jungler has a lot of CC as well to combo with Jax, I will go Tenacity. Last Stand edges out coup de grace almost every time. Demolish is an option in this matchup. I think bone plating's really good. You can go bone plating or you can go taste of blood. Either one is fine, but I think the level 1, the extra level 1 power is really important. And then if you're going taste of blood, you have your options between Ravenous Hunter, Ingenious for your actives, Relentless, or Ultimate Hunter. Honestly, all of them are viable. I tend to go Ingenious the most. And then you can also go Unflinching for more tenacity, especially if they have slows on their team. Unflinching is really good for slows because it gives you not only slow resistance but also tenacity to make the slows shorter. You can also go Overgrowth, would be decent. And then I always go double adaptive on Renekton. You can go attack speed, but I think double adaptive is better, especially just for your Q poke early and your sustain early. That is it for the runes. Let's get into the matchup. So level 1, I'm just trying to poke Jax with Q a couple times and get to my empowered Q, and from that point you are in a pretty good spot. So if you can poke him like that outside of your auto range, it's really good. And then you're just trying to contest push and get Fury and keep poking your Q. And then once you have your empowered Q, you have a lot of pressure with your Ignite and PTA. You can win all in, especially if you don't start the all-in until your Q is up, because in this situation, like, my Q is a bit far away, but I could have cut it out for it and I would still win. So he can't all-in me. I would get push and be able to heal up with my pots and Q and get a level advantage when he TPs back. And then from that point, after you get your E and he gets your Q, the way trades are going to go is just like he's going to use his E, and you are going to choose to either Q and walk away and have threat to E back in, or you're going to Q and E away, and then if he jumps onto you, he should be in your creeps and you should be able to win, and you can possibly jump back in. Or if you already have a big HP advantage, if he walks at you with his E or he jumps at you with his E, you can even dash in as he stuns you to threaten an all-in. And then once you have W, you have a ton of kill pressure. Once you have W, you should hard be winning the matchup, and you should be out sustaining him by this point. You can see in this replay, he has no pots by this point, and I still have 2 pots left, and I have my empowered Q, so I am sitting pretty, and feeling really good about it. So we can see I do exactly that. I empower Q him and kite away, and then when he's about to stun me, I E in and threaten all in and force him to Q away. And then versus Jax, your all-in pressure is actually really high. If he doesn't get his E off, he's actually fairly squishy. So you can get a nice all-in like that, and then you're feeling great in the matchup. So sometimes Jax will try to test you and not use his E and try to get a trade-off for free without having to use his E, so he can chunk you out, and then he'll go for a bigger trade with his E once he has a bit of an HP advantage, or maybe stacked his Conqueror a bit, because E is a very long cooldown. And his Q and W are very short. So be aware of that and be ready if he doesn't use his E. Like, actually see if he uses his E or not, a lot of the time, and be ready to punish with an auto attack before you dash away or start walking away. And then at level 6 in this matchup, you should win really hard as long as you're getting 2 Qs off or you already got short trades in, because he has a lot of trouble. He can't kill you through your Qs and your ulti. The only thing he can do is force out your ulti and then he can back away. But if you really bait him in by queuing right away and then kiting for your second Q, you should win really, really, really hard, because you get an empowered W and you get an empowered Q. As long as you're getting 2 empowered abilities, you should be shitting on him. And then later in the game, a lot of people think you just get outscaled by Jax and you can't 1v1 him, but you should be winning early. At the very least, you should be going even, because even if you mess up early, you still have comeback potential. As long as you are on item spikes and you're not behind in items, or you're not on, like, if you're both on 1.5 items, it can be a bit awkward. But if you're on your 1 item spike, or you're on your 2 item spike, or 3 item spike, if you're building full AD, you should be able to just straight up 1v1 him, especially if you abuse your empowered E, your armor shred, into empowered W. That burst combo is crazy. The only thing about that is it can be a bit inconsistent if you just try to use both of your mobility spells and then he like tries to kite away. But if you have prowlers up or you have flash up, it should be pretty consistent to go for. If you get your W dash off and you shred his armor into prowlers and power W, he will just explode. It's super, super good, especially if you have your Bork power spike. So I mean, that's pretty much it for the Jax matchup. That's mostly all you need to know. There may be some other small details, like you can actually, if you're in a tight situation, you can actually buffer your W into the end of his E. If you get the timing right, he'll block like the first hit of your W, but if you do it at a tight timing, you'll actually get your stun off, and like your last hits off, to be able to stun him at the same time to maybe survive. A few other things worth mentioning, guys, that I forgot. You might have seen this earlier when I solo killed Jax for the second time. When you're low in Fury, you can look to turn back into Jax and start a trade right away with an unempowered W. And then that'll get a free chunk on him and build your Fury. And you'll also be able to force his E by pressuring a PTA auto right afterwards. It'll force his E out and then you can just kite back. And then wait for your W cooldown to come back up, which is much shorter than his E. And also, when Jax is in his E, he takes 25% less damage from AoE abilities, so it's good to hold your Q until after his E ends if you're able to. And also, when you're inside, I kind of lied, I kind of exaggerated a little bit earlier with you just win versus Jax if you're like even or ahead. Inside, the side is kind of hard. You do have to actually play it well and use your 1v1 tools to actually be able to beat Jax in side lane when you're even or slightly behind. I lead with auto attack Q, and if that doesn't force his E, if he's holding it, I don't like to gamble and just like throw out my empower W for him to eat it and then chase me down with a short Q cooldown. I will then ult after my auto attack Q, and usually that forces out his E because he'll expect your W right after or be scared of it. So then after I auto attack Q and ult to force out his counter strike, I'll E through him to kite out of his auto range, and he should jump back on top of me. And then right before he stuns me, I like to empowered E him, and then after I am stunned, or maybe I dash out of the stun is really good. If he jumps back on top of you, you can dash out of the stun range. And then I will prowlers back on top of him, auto however many times I need to before empower W. And then I will empower W, and you should get your empower E plus power W combo and be able to burst him out even if you're slightly behind. The only problem with this is I believe there is a dumb interaction with your E, where if he Qs onto you as you E, your E can just not hit him for some reason. So I don't know exactly how that works. But if it happens to you, I'm sorry. And that's all for my Jax matchup, guys. My Jax matchup guide. I hope it's helpful, and I hope you guys stomp some stupid Jax players. Good luck. Bye.